I'm back from vacation and I am doing some post-vacation shipping, and I thought I would do another chatty work with me, kind of the part two from my last one. Today's topic is going to be some of the best reselling advice I've heard and just talking about in general decent advice to maybe consider when you are starting or running a business. So on that note, let's get a timer on the screen in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go. If you're new to the chatty work with me's, I'm going to work and chat about a topic. And at the end of the video, the last 15 minutes will be just talking personal stuff, not the topic. So last video, which I'll link down below, I did a chatty work with me where I talked about some of the worst reselling advice for me. And I think I was pretty clear in that video that the reason it was bad advice for me and possibly other people is that it was just not sustainable. I'm really big into work-life balance. I'm really big into avoiding burnout. And so that was that topic. But the reason I started that topic, or this topic in general, of reselling advice is because I was on Instagram a few weeks ago and I screenshotted it and I meant to give her full credit. And then when I was cleaning out videos and photos on my phone to make space, which I do often, I realized I had accidentally deleted that. So I don't remember the person on Instagram who posted this, but it wasn't the first time I've heard this general concept. So I'm going to explain it in the best way that I remember, and in general, just the way I think I perceive it. And I think this is definitely the best reselling advice that I've heard over the years and thought about and occasionally talked about, just because it is self-reflection instead of pointing fingers. And what I mean by that is lots of things can go wrong in the reselling space. Platforms can make changes, thrift stores can raise prices, resellers can start taking over your honey hole, sales can go up, they can go down. There's just so many different variables in a reselling business, in life in general, but I'm just mainly focused on the reselling side, that I think it's easy sometimes when things are bad to focus outward and blame all the things going on that we have no control over, instead of focusing on what we do have control over. And it's funny because when things are good, when sales are great, when everything is in line and everything is just wonderful, we tend to take all of the credit for it. We're not giving credit necessarily outward. We're like, oh, we've been working hard, that's why my sales are great. Or, oh, I improved my photos, that's why my sales are great. And I think it's an easy trap that I personally have definitely fallen into at times, that I just try to remind myself often that focusing in the good and bad times on what I can do, looking in the mirror and focusing on things I can improve on, things I can change, things I have control over. I understand life can be very frustrating, reselling can be very frustrating, but to dwell on things that are out of our control is just wasted energy and wasted time, and it will probably not do much good because you don't have control over it. So I think, I wish I had her screenshots because she said it so eloquently, and I just thought it was a really helpful thing to remind people of, and it has been over the years something very important for me. There's a little loose string, and I don't have a pair of scissors right here. I need to grab a pair of scissors. Just a quick pause for the sponsor of today's video, which is my favorite, Green Chef. I'm so hungry, and it's gonna be a hot one today. Even though we're close to fall and I'm so excited for a lot of warm dishes, I'm still enjoying a lot of the salads right now because they're quick and easy and they're just perfect for a warm day. So if you don't know what Green Chef is, I've been using them for about a year now, and they are a CCOF certified organic company, and they provide meal kits, and they're options for basically everyone out there. So if you want to order keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, fast and fit, and did I say Mediterranean? That's the one I've been ordering a lot of recently. But it's just really convenient. You can mix and match, or you can kind of stick to one meal plan depending on your preferences. But one of my favorite things this summer has been the fast and fit meals. It will usually say on the cards and online what meal plans they're a part of. And the fast and fit ones are less time to cook and under 700 calories. So it's just convenient for busy days for me. The other thing I love, which I've pointed this out before, are these cards. Even if you don't like to cook and it's not easy for you, it is super easy to follow these instructions. A lot of the ingredients come pre-portioned, so you actually don't have to do a lot of cutting or really much work. You just kind of piece things together and things turn out exactly like the recipe card, which always makes me happy because it looks like it's a fancy restaurant, but I'm at home. One of the main reasons I prefer Green Chef is it's always introducing me to new ingredients and flavorful dishes that support a healthy lifestyle, and I'm definitely trying to step up my game by making healthier choices, so Green Chef really makes it easy to do that. So if you haven't tried Green Chef yet and you would like to, you can use my code COMMONTAGS135 to get $135 off across 5 boxes, plus free shipping on your first box. So you can go to greenchef.com for more details. And I can't say enough good things. Thank you, Green Chef, for sponsoring another video. I'm gonna chow down. We'll get back to my chatty work with me. So sometimes I just like to share these things just because they're very helpful for me to remember. And I don't know, it's good life advice. It's not just for reselling, but in this situation, I think a lot of the times I get comments of people saying, you know, my honey hole was invaded. There's, too many resellers in my area, which I did a chatty work with me on that topic. Thrift stores, raising prices. They still have rent. They still have to pay employees. There's still a lot of costs there. And I know it's very frustrating when you go into a thrift store and the prices used to be reasonable and then maybe they started raising them. I know it's frustrating, but I think for me, I drive over 2 hours to get to pretty much every thrift store I go to, and there's a lot that I can drive to with that distance. So even if the most convenient one for you isn't the best pricing anymore, maybe it's worth driving a little bit farther to explore some new thrift stores. And I don't know, personally, that's part of the fun for me. But I really like to focus on the positivity. I know that some people, because some of these topics do have a negative tone to them or a negative part of the topic, but in all, I think if you actually listen to a lot of what I'm saying, it's not focusing on the negative. It's trying to focus on, what you have control over and moving forward. And that to me is how I've been reselling for this long, and how I could plan to continue to resell is just having that mindset of focus on what I have control over, focus on what I'm doing, what I can improve on. I mean, it's been very impactful for me recently to focus on my productivity because I have so much more time off now because I'm working harder when I'm working. And that has been so meaningful to me. And that's a change I made. And I just can't, I just got back and I didn't work for 5 days. And then before that, a few days previous, I took 2 full days off during the weekend. Now I'm technically counting reselling as a part of that because I still do occasionally work on YouTube and real estate and stuff. So, because I'm juggling quite a few things. But I think that that's an improvement I made because I looked in the mirror and I reflected on, oh, wow, I don't think I'm as productive as I can be with my work time. And therefore it's bleeding into I have no personal time because the work is just never ending. So that's an example of some recent thing that I have done to make an improvement on my reselling business and my life. And I'm happy about that. And I think I've shared that. So what are some other reselling, not even reselling, this is business, life advice. I just jotted down some that I just found on the internet from a variety of places. They're kind of common, pieces of advice. It's not like it's unique to one person. But the first one being is the hardest thing to do is just start. And I think that this is such a big deal for a lot of people, especially if you're a perfectionist, which that's kind of the second part of this is don't be a perfectionist or try not to. Because if you are a perfectionist and you're worried about every detail, this can be pictures and listing and knowing how to list. I think that's one of the reasons why I think the best way to resell is just to do, not to... it's helpful to watch hauls and learn some brands and maybe hear people's opinions on certain things if it's good, opinions, but it's not necessary to just get out there and start. Just list some stuff from your house and just, shipping for me, I made a lot of mistakes, but once I made, not a lot of mistakes, but once I made a couple mistakes, then I pretty much had no problems. But if I had watched, 12 different YouTube videos on every single detail of how to ship, I probably still would have made those mistakes or other mistakes. So I think the best thing and the hardest thing to do is just start whatever it is. Start a new platform. If you want to start social media in some way, shape, or form, you can overthink it all. You can try to make it perfect. At the end of the day, just start. And I mean, it's kind of like YouTube is an easy thing for me to remind myself of how bad I was. And I'm still not really that great as far as like editing and, stuff like that. But I really do every day just try to wake up of, it's not going to be perfect. And I've become okay with that, because at the end of the day, I actually don't like seeing perfect personally. One of the things that some people have commented on over the years of me being on YouTube is I won't edit out my, when I can't talk, when I stumble or fumble on my words, which is often. And I remember the first few times that people commented like, I'm so glad you leave that in because it makes you more human. It's a huge insecurity when you feel like you can't, like you're stuttering and you just can't complete sentences, or you use different slang too often, and it's an insecurity. And so I think it's nice when people validate that it's nice to show insecurities at times, or it's nice to show that you're imperfect at times, because it makes you more human. So personally, that's a big one for me. Just start reselling, just start a second platform or third platform, just start the social media and learn as you go. And it will get better over time. It doesn't need to be perfect right away. And in all honesty, no one really knows what perfect is. I mean, like, I'll talk about real estate videos. So I do these real estate videos on my third channel, and they're kind of raw and organic. I'm doing it more selfie filming style. I do use tripods at times, but it's definitely not professional. And I had a number of people in the beginning of my real estate journey kind of saying like, well, maybe you can integrate some professional video footage in there, like to make it a little bit more professional. And I'm thinking, I didn't buy a house with a realtor because they paid someone $500 to make some 2-minute video of them walking through a house. I wanted to connect with that person, and sometimes those staged and professional, perfect things actually deter you from getting to know the person. And that's just my own take. So I think that it's kind of the same with, like, do you need lighting to start reselling? No. Do you need anything? Do you need your whole setup of like a steamer? No. You could iron, or maybe you just hang things and kind of shake them out. There's also this spray. I think her name is Southern Stone on Instagram. I'll write it on the screen what her Instagram name is, but I follow her, and she recently did buy a spray that's kind of a wrinkle release, and I'll link the product down below because I'm thinking about buying it. And what she said is it's not necessarily the best for reselling, like as a replacement for a steamer, but it's better than not having a steamer at all. And for personal use, if you just need to get a few wrinkles out, it's just like a quick way to get a few wrinkles out. So anyways, thank you to her. She doesn't know I exist, but thank you to her for recommending that and trying it out and sharing it on Instagram, because I'm excited to try it. I think it's going to be just nice to have. But a steamer, like I love my steamer, but I didn't have it when I first started reselling because it's a cost. And so anyways, all right, what's the next one? Set boundaries. So I'm really big into boundaries in life in general. This is with friends, relationships, and my business. It's very important for me to look out for myself. And I know that's not easy for everyone, but in business, especially with social media, but even with things like people messaging me when I'm on vacation about an item, they have a question about an item. I have days where I'm not going to respond. I can't get to all social media messages, and I've accepted that now. It makes me feel bad, or it did at some point, but I've had to move on I just can't get to everything, and I have to have some time off. So it's important for me to be able to say, you know what, I got a lot done today, so I'm done for the night, or I got a lot done this week, so I'm done for the week. And set some clear boundaries. For me, it's really about boundaries of time working versus time not working. And that has taken me 4 years to figure out. So I think that's the big thing is when I say that something's working for me, a lot of what I've been figuring out has taken me a long time. And that's okay. It doesn't matter how long it takes you, as long as you just keep trying to make improvements for your own self. Because if I am not setting boundaries, I mean, this goes into, sometimes, it's either, I use buyers in this case because I know not everyone watching this is on social media, but, buyers can ask you for extra measurements. Well, I give basic measurements, and I'm not going to go pull an item out of my inventory to do extras. And I know that can be frustrating because maybe someone has a specific measurement they really need, and I might lose the sale. But for me, I have to have a line drawn in some places, or it just never ends, and I get overwhelmed. So, and that, everyone's situation is different, but I think for me, it's just accepting that I'm not going to get to everything, but it doesn't mean I'm bad at what I do. It means that I'm trying to set boundaries for myself. Another big one for me that I think is really important. Now, this can be with, you can share things on your Instagram. You can share things with maybe resellers when you're out thrifting, and maybe you're thrifting with fellow resellers. I don't really talk about my reselling business too much with my family, except my mom. But even then, she doesn't like to, she just is kind of, move forward, don't dwell on things. And so even with her, I don't talk about it. But let's say Amber resells, who I talk to pretty often, and sometimes something will happen and we'll bounce things off of each other of like, can you believe this happened, or whatever. She's just a reselling friend. And one of the important things for me has been to discuss failures. Like, I try to do it on social media so that other people don't feel alone. But I feel like if you just kind of candy coat things or don't talk about the misses and the failures, then you're probably internally thinking that you aren't a good reseller because you've made mistakes. A perfect example of this is having a bad buy, or many. I can't tell you, like, this shirt that I am lint rolling quickly is a shirt that I technically bought for myself to wear for a real estate video, and I wore it and I decided to list it. It's Chico's, it's nothing fancy. I'm not sure if I would have picked it up if I didn't think I was going to wear it. But once I listed it, it sold within a week, and I was really surprised by that because this isn't an item I thought would be worth picking up. I can't remember what it sold for. I didn't sell for much, maybe $15, $16, but I picked it up at the bins, and I still made a great return for a item that weighs less than half a pound. So bad buys for me is like, I sometimes mark things down. Like I sold something the other day that took 3 years to sell. I'd say that was probably a bad buy. It still sold for $30, but I don't like to pick up things that are going to sit for 3 years. But even in those situations, it's like, how do you know if it's going to be a bad buy? There is no exact formula. You can pick up all day, every day mall brands and have a thriving reselling business, or you could be someone that says, I don't want to pick up anything unless it's unique and going to sell for really high dollar. But some of that stuff will sit and maybe not sell. So I understand how it can feel of like you've made a mistake. I'm trying to think of another failure or mistake I've made. I mean, I definitely made a lot of mistakes. Like the other day I shipped an item and I shipped them the wrong item. Now, to be fair, it was a Lulu's dress, size extra small, star print, and I had 2 of them. And I didn't even remember I had 2 of them. One was spaghetti strap, like a fit and flare, and one was a long sleeve shift style dress. But because they were packaged, they've been, sitting for a while, they were already packaged. I didn't like pull out the dress, and someone opened a return on eBay because I shipped them the wrong item. So like, I'm happy to share that stuff occasionally happens. It's rare. I try my best to avoid those types of mistakes because I definitely don't want to pay for returns. Because if I make the mistake, I'm for sure going to pay the shipping each way. But, we're human. And I think it's important to share that part of growth is making mistakes and the failures, and talking about them, I think, is just good and healthy. And it's one of the things that I didn't hear enough of when I was a new reseller. I've said this a million times, and I do repeat myself because not everyone watches every video. And some people are new to my channel, but one of the reasons I got on YouTube was I felt like everything was picture perfect with the people I was watching. And it was like, they have the perfect photography setup. They have a neat and tidy space, and everything's perfectly organized, and everything they pick up is selling for $5 million. And it seemed like everything was picture perfect. And I was just like, that's not how it is for me. That's not real for me. I wanted to give a different view of, it's okay that things aren't going to be picture perfect. And most of us, that's how it is, So let's see. While discussing failures, the flip side of that is to get rid of the negativity. So when I talk about a failure, to share like, hey, I made this mistake. I shipped this wrong item, this Lulu's dress. I know exactly how the mistake happened. I didn't pull the item out of the bag, and I just shipped it off, and that was on me. But I'm not sitting here going, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I'm going to lose $10 because it's $5 shipping there and it's $5 return shipping to me. And God, I can't believe, like, we should just have a better system around this. Or I could sit there and dwell in negativity, but I try not to. I just accept that there's failures and move on. And communicating them doesn't mean surrounding yourself in negativity. It just means being transparent, learning from your mistakes. And for me, getting rid of negativity was huge. So I became friends with some resellers early on, and I realized very quickly that they would gossip about other resellers. And I'm not a gossip person. I don't like gossip shows. I don't like it. And that's just my personality. So, but I also kind of wanted to know what was going on in the community. So I was friends, and they were talking about other people poorly, and also about things that weren't even reselling related. Like, it got really bad, and it got so negative that it was making me hate the reselling community, all because one or two people was telling me all the juicy gossip, and I didn't need to know that gossip. People are human. There are some great resellers, and there are some not so great resellers. And it's not like I'm going to sit here and say, these are the people you should follow, and these are the people you shouldn't, because to be honest, you might not like someone that I like to watch or follow, and that's okay. People don't like me, and that's okay. But, the negativity of the gossip for me was terrible. And I ended friendships because I was like, this is not doing me any good. I don't need to know if someone got arrested and has a mugshot. And that's how bad it was getting, where they were getting so personal with details of like their husband cheated on them. And I'm like, how does this help me as a reseller? Why do I need to know this about another reseller? Maybe there is some stuff that it's like, okay, maybe you wouldn't want to follow someone because of some, like they said something terrible about another reseller or something like that, and you just don't respect that. But still, the negativity can really make this really awesome space not so awesome. So for me, it was really important that I got rid of negativity. It's not that I wanted to get rid of transparency, though. And I think that's the biggest difference. And I hope that makes sense. You guys can tell me if that makes sense. But negativity and transparency and honesty are two different things. Negativity is like dwelling in it, unnecessary, not helpful. Transparency and honesty is like you can learn from it and grow from it. Does that make sense? Whatever. Let's see. This is kind of on point with that. You are only going to be as good as those around you. So, it doesn't mean that you have to be with resellers who are selling millions of dollars. But if you are only associating with resellers who sell $100 a month and they don't list a lot and they just like to shop and they've got huge death piles, and that's okay. Like, that's part of the process. So I'm not knocking that if you do. We've all been there. But if you surround yourself with people who aren't trying to make improvements, then you might get trapped in that same cycle as well, because that's what you're surrounding yourself with. And I don't think like, you know, I mean, it's kind of like, okay, so you want to be millionaires, surround yourself with millionaires. Well, I mean, do you know many? I mean, I have some friends up in the Bay Area that definitely are either close to that or at that point. And yeah, I'm fascinated when I talk to them. Like I have an old boss, an old CEO, and I mean, I can't even fathom what his net worth was. And I used to love just sitting and listening and hearing him break things down, because it's like he obviously has done a lot right in his career and I can learn from that, but that's not always the easiest thing. I think it's just surround yourself with people who are constantly trying to make improvements, or maybe have something that you are trying to achieve. So again, when I first started reselling, I was a part-time reseller, and my first favorite reseller was Amber Resells. I know I keep mentioning her, but she's been my longest time friend in reselling, and she's also someone that I watched while I was a new reseller. And what I liked about her was that she was part-time, and I could kind of see myself in her. And she was not afraid to pick up things at all price points, and she wasn't flashy about things. She still isn't. She's also about to have a baby, so she hasn't been as consistent with content for a bit. But what I liked about her was that I could relate. But I also followed people who were full-time, because I thought maybe someday I'll get to that point, and they seem to be doing okay. Again, I try not to share too much of like trying to be flashy, because I don't want to make people I don't want to make people feel bad if they aren't doing certain things I am. I also think some people are doing a lot better than me, but maybe they don't have my family obligations, my real estate obligations, my YouTube obligations. So no one's situation is the same. So I think it's great to follow someone who seems to be at a place maybe that you're going to try to get to, but you shouldn't compare yourself too much, because your situation is different than theirs. They might live in a more metropolitan area, be able to source differently, or, you know, whatever, or they just have more experience, you know? So I do think follow people that make you want to do better. Yeah, let's leave it with that. Let's see. Do something you are passionate about, and don't chase what the hot passion is of the day. So a friend of mine used to talk about this with the startup scene, that there are so many tech startups that are practical and useful and successful, or there's a needed space for it, that maybe aren't known by everyone. So, you know, a lot of people know Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, because a lot of people use those. It's just like, it's a general thing that just any average Joe can use. But there's a lot of tech startups that are for medical companies, or the dog is chasing a bug, or they are, they're for other startups. Like there's startups for other startups. And so really the only people that even know about them are people that are even in that industry. And it doesn't mean that they're not needed and they're not useful and they're not great. It just means they're not as well known. Oh, but if those people decided to go after what the hot thing of the day was, like right now, short form content. I don't watch it. I don't like it. I don't make it. I don't care what anyone says. Oh, you have to do reels. You have to do shorts. You have to do this kind of content if you want to grow. I haven't done it very often to this day, and it's not my favorite thing. And I don't have to do really anything, because that might fade out. Like I can't even think about all of the social media things that started and then fizzled out. And you can totally be just fine not being what's hot at the moment. I mean, I did the video on whatnot, that I wasn't interested in it. Now, I had a variety of reasons. One of them, a big one, was that I can't source extra product very easily because I don't live near thrift stores. But I also, it's not a way I want to shop or sell. And that's personal, and that's okay. And even if that is the hot thing of the moment, and even if I could have gone on there and made, very heated, even if I could have gone on there and made, $2,000 every night that I did a whatnot show, if I didn't like it or want to do it, that doesn't, it's not a big deal. It's no one's, it doesn't matter for anyone other than me. I have my personal preferences, and it might not be the hot thing of the moment, but I think I'm doing okay without jumping on those bandwagons every time something pops up. So you can be a reseller and just stick to whatever you're comfortable with and passionate about. Like, I'm passionate about the process. I like it. I like disclosing flaws. I like taking photos and being able to really inspect an item. I like selling all price points because I like to, I shop at lower price points. So I like to sell them at times. You know, that Chico's top, it's like, I paid probably $1.15 for it based off of the weight at the bins, and a $16 sale or whatever it sold for is not high dollar. I don't want that all the time, but I still need a profit and I got a wear out of it. So, but I don't know. I think I'm personally passionate about building something that works for me, not what the hot thing is. And I think it's really great advice. If you like the hot stuff, if you want to sell and whatnot, I said that in that video and I'll say it here again. Have at it. It doesn't faze me. I'm not going to be shopping there. I'm not going to use your code, but if that makes you happy, I'm happy for you, because there's a space for all of us here. And that's what I love about reselling. It kind of goes into last video of me saying, like, it's not a one size fits all. And that's what I love about reselling. Like, I love that my friends like different things in reselling than me. And that we can both be successful in reselling and do different things. I don't know, that just makes me happy. So I feel like I need to enjoy some coffee since it's early. All right, let's see. They're never spaced out. Oh, this is a big one. Don't be afraid to walk away or change course. This is huge for me. I tried Mercari. I tried Facebook Marketplace. I realized I didn't like them. I don't know why I didn't like them. I just didn't. And I walked away. Did I invest some time in getting listings up and try to learn a new platform? Sure. But was it wasted time? No, I tried something new, and who knows? Maybe that would have been my favorite platform out there. But I think, it is important to go, if you're not happy doing something, it's okay to just walk away. I know this is a big one for resellers of, like, maybe you like the shopping, but you don't like the shipping, photos, listing, and you get into reselling because you're like, oh, I get to go shop and I get to go, buy stuff and then flip them. And then you realize, like, it's just not what you expected or wanted. It's okay if you leave reselling. Like, obviously I hope that people can just realize, like, maybe figure out how reselling can work best for what you like. Like, if you only like shopping, maybe go shop and only buy one thing every time you go out, or two things every time you go out, and make sure they're really high dollar so you don't have to spend much time on the stuff that you don't like. So I feel like you can build a business that works for your preferences. Most people can. Learn different niches, like find things. Maybe you're in an area like me where you are in a small town where your thrift stores never change product, and you're like, I don't have access to high dollar stuff. Well, I'm guarantee every town, because I watch a lot of hard goods resellers in small towns, they learn new things. They look up new things to find those high dollar items, and they could just be so random. But either way, it's okay to change course. Like, maybe you thought you liked selling something and you bought quite a bit of it, and then you're like, oh, no, this wasn't for me. I haven't taken photos of this. I probably never will. Donate it and move on, So I think that's this is kind of just like life advice. Try new things, but don't be afraid to just walk away if it's not working out for you. And that's been really important for me over the years. And that's also like relationship advice, I have lost a couple friends in the last couple years due to COVID. Not due to COVID, but like because COVID made changes to things, and I wish them well, and these aren't resellers. These are people in my personal life. And it's like, I wish them well, but it was time to move on. It was time to like walk away. And so, yeah, again, a lot of this can just be general life advice, but don't be afraid to walk away. Let's see. Not everyone is going to like you. I think I touched on this briefly, but this is in reselling. This is in social media. This is in personal life. I think that it is natural to just want to be likable for most of us. It's also natural to not feel good when people don't like you. for most of us. But it's also okay to work on accepting that, to not take it personally if someone doesn't like you. I think that, there's certain ways that people talk, myself included. Maybe someone doesn't like how my tone of voice or words I use or whatever, how I describe things. And it's really not something I can change. I mean, we could probably learn and grow and make improvements on certain things, but the way we talk is probably from where we're at, how our family speaks, how our friends spoke when we were raised, how much education you have, how much reading you do. Like, I feel like there's something right here and it's kind of bothering me, but if someone doesn't like the way you speak, are you going to change it? Probably not. So why take it personally? It's just who you are, and they can go on and find someone else. In reselling, I just went into like a YouTube thing. I don't get that as much, but I definitely don't watch people because I don't like some aspect of, maybe they talk too slow for me or are too wordy. I don't know. I'm saying this as I have like an hour-long chatty work with me, but so who knows? But reselling. I mean, there are people who don't like the way I list or don't like my photos. And it's like, okay, you don't have to buy my stuff. You could ask for things. Maybe I don't take enough measurements for you. Maybe I didn't take enough photos for you. Maybe I didn't describe it well enough. Can you please, I get this a lot on Poshmark. I know it says good pre-owned condition, but can you please tell me if there are any tears, rips, stains? Like they have this like laundry list of things. And it's like, I mean, if there were those things and I didn't disclose them, you could return it. And I know that's a hassle, but it's good pre-owned condition. If there's a flaw, I disclose it. I don't know. Like for me, it's so they don't have to buy it from me if I'm not writing my description the way they want or are comfortable with, and that's okay. People, again, we don't have to be liked by everyone. It's not to say we should just like try and be bad people, like, or disliked intentionally, but just coming to terms with you might not be liked by everyone, and that is big in social media. And I have friends in the YouTube space in reselling and non-reselling, and it doesn't matter what niche you're in. There's just people out there that just aren't going to like everyone. So it's across the board. It doesn't matter how great you think you are or are. There's just going to be people that don't like you. Let's see. Okay, so this is, I think, a good one. Don't think about how to get successful fast, but rather try to focus on the process of how you actually become successful. Is that how I wrote this? Focus on the best way to build a business as opposed to I want to get rich quick, fast. I don't that didn't come out the way I meant it. Get fast, rich, get quick, rich, get rich quick. That's the right term. Get rich quick schemes, and there's plenty of reselling channels that I would say are the ones that I 100% don't follow, is if they say how to make $1,000 extra. Like I did a video one time where I said I made $800 extra this month, and people didn't like it because I was just saying I was doing more not sharing. I was sending offers, and I really wasn't that great at it before. I don't think people liked that video. Some people didn't like that video. It's really old. It's like 2 years old, but because they thought I was going to give them some quick get rich quick scheme, and it's like, no, most of it is just list stuff. The two best ways. No, I think I'm going to do a different chatty work with me on the topic. Let me know if you guys think this would be an interesting chatty work with me. The two most obvious ways to improve your sales. I won't share them here. I know that's like leaving a little bit of a dangly whatever, but I just think there really aren't really any extreme tips out there that are going to change things other than just list, try to be somewhat consistent, whether that's on a weekly or daily basis, and try to find good stuff that people want to buy, It's pretty simple, and that is kind of those are the kind of couple things. List and list stuff that people want to buy. Anyways, all these tips and tricks and all of this stuff, it's like, don't focus on that rather than, okay, if you want to make $2,000 a month, but you're only listing $500 a month in product, how is that math working out for you? So if you want to get to the point where you're maybe full-time, just reselling alone, and full-time for you means you have to make $7,000 for taxes, 401k, all your bills, all of that stuff. well, then maybe you should work on a plan on how to start listing $7,000 a month, so that at least you're giving yourself better odds to eventually get there someday. But it's the process. It's kind of like inventory. If you're a new reseller and you're like, it's fine, I don't need an inventory system, I know where everything is. You might now, but in 6 months it might be crazy hectic and chaotic and you don't know where anything is. So it's like, don't be afraid to start an inventory system, because that's part of the planning to get maybe the growth that you want. But yeah, just not to focus on the like get rich quick things. How you doing, Bill? Is it toasty outside? Today's the hottest day of the year here. It will be, probably. It might be the hottest day at my house ever. I think the forecast at my house is supposed to be 99. I don't know if it's ever gotten to 100 at my house. It has in Tehachapi, but that's a little lower elevation than where I'm at. So today we're in a California heat wave, but it's almost over. Fall's almost here for some of us. Let's see. Know your why when you're doing something. So for me, like, I'll use YouTube because I get a lot of people that say like, oh, I want to do YouTube so I can make money. If your why of doing something is just to make money, it might not be sustainable in the long run, because I'll use YouTube. There is no guarantee. There's plenty of people that have been on YouTube the same amount of time as me, and they're not making that much money, and they put a lot, 4 years of work in. So know the why of why you want to resell, why you want to do YouTube, why you want to, whatever. Is it, maybe it's not necessarily, like maybe it is related to money, like maybe you want to pay off your debt. Maybe you have student debt, or you've got a mortgage or a car payment or something that you want to pay off. It's not necessarily about the money, like you want to just make money, but you actually have a goal in mind of why you're doing it. Or like for me, one thing I love about reselling, there's so many things, but a couple that are big for me is I can find stuff that people want and dig for it and work really hard to find that stuff. And it gets more life used, more wares out of that item. And it could be a really great quality item, or it could be fast fashion and you're still finding it in a new home where hopefully it gets worn more often and it makes that item have a longer life. And that's really important. Less stuff that goes to the landfill. I also love that I buy almost all my stuff pre-owned. And so I save a lot of money on my own purchases. Like even going into Target these days. I used to love going into Target and like buy a new cute little summer dress or something, whatever. Nowadays it's like $40 at Target. Like I don't want to spend that. So I love the fact that I can go in and I can spend $10 in my thrift store and find a cute dress as well. So know the why. YouTube, I wanted to share a different, a different perspective, the not perfect perspective, the honest, transparent perspective that I really was craving and I wasn't seeing in my early days. And so I put myself out there awkwardly. I still do. I'm still awkward, but it is what it is. And hopefully, some people appreciate that people, we're human. So, all right, only a few minutes left, but I have quite a few more. So let's see if I can get through all of them. Okay, this is a really great one. Ask yourself if you would still want something to be successful, even if you weren't involved with it. So reselling, for example, if you still want resellers to be successful because you care about the environment, you care about less production of new products and like finding new homes for things and having more wares and less stuff in landfill, then even if you're not a reseller, you still want them to be successful. And for me, like, that's a really great question to ask, because then it tells you if you're doing it just for money and just for yourself, or if you're doing it for a good cause. Yeah, so I like that one. Let's see. This is kind of fun, because find people who are not afraid to give you some criticism. I'm not saying unsolicited advice. Oh, geez. Because that's unsolicited. It's not asked for, it's not wanted. But find some friends, and I'll use Amber again. She's someone that I can go to and say, hey, what do you think about this? Maybe it's a thumbnail or a video idea. And she'll be honest with me. She'll be like, that doesn't make sense to me. And it's not criticizing me for having a new idea. It's just she's helping me talk through something. And, it can be a family member. I find it best to find some people outside of the family because me personally, my family I don't talk about this stuff with my family. But it's just helpful to have people who are not just going to say, oh, that's so great to everything that you do, because probably it's not all great. And you probably need some feedback that will help you grow and improve. Sometimes it is criticism, but hopefully said in a respectful way when you ask for it. Let's see. Okay. So there's something that we used to say at my previous jobs. Engineers would build some code, make an improvement to our app, and they would say, just ship it. Meaning just launch the code, and it might not be perfect, but once it's launched and public and people are using it, we can make improvements along the way. This kind of goes back to the beginning of just start. Like, don't be a perfectionist, just start. I think that is really held firm for me with my reselling business and with YouTube is just ship it. And most stuff you can just make improvements along the way. This is my last, well, maybe it won't be my last one, but this is a big one. Use the slow, uncertain times to grow. So I have been listing like a maniac this summer, even when my sales were slow. And I built my inventory almost to 1,600. I have never been to 1,600. I've always kind of floated somewhere between 1,000 to 1,300. And I thought if I use this slow time where I'm not shipping as much because I'm not selling as much, if I use this time to grow my total listed items, my active inventory, then maybe this fall and winter when sales pick up, I will have more sales because I will have more listed. And not everyone agrees with this, but for me, I use the slow, uncertain times as the time I did this summer to try to grow my business so that moving forward, hopefully my sales, while they're still like this, highs and lows, hopefully it will be like this and it's kind of gradually going up. Does that make sense? This is a big one. The more you grow, the more problems you will encounter. It's one of the reasons I don't want to have an employee or employees. I don't want my business because I've managed people. I don't like managing people. That's what all my past jobs were. And people are more problems. And right now I have a very simple business, but I enjoy it. And I don't mind doing a lot of this stuff. I don't have to worry about someone else making a mistake or taking incorrect photos or incorrect measurements, or I can just be accountable for everything I'm doing right now. And I enjoy it. And so more sales usually means more problems, maybe more returns. There's the timer. And that's okay. Like, it's okay to have some of that, but just know that you might want, 6-figure business net, where like after, cost of goods and all of that stuff, like you're netting 6 figures, you might want that, but with that comes a lot more problems. So yeah, I just think it's important to remember that. So on that note, we're going to go and hang out with the dog and chat non-reselling stuff and enjoy some coffee. I know. Did you get to hang out with the dog sitter for 5 days? Huh? So I will start with that. It's not on my list, but it just happened. So this is Luna's not first time sleeping away from me, but first time staying that long away from me. And my dog sitter's been working out great. I was able to go on this vacation for 5 days. And so the dog sitter let Luna stay at her house. She's in my community, so she's not far. She also has a key to my house. So she dropped Luna off at one point so that she could run some errands in town. And last night when I was telling, no, like lay down because then you'll get tangled and I have the door open and lay down. I know. Highly recommend this little bed. It's a Coolaroo. The brand's over there. Coolaroo. I bought it for warm days because it lets airflow from the bottom. I did buy it in a color similar to my tile so that it would kind of blend in. But yeah, she uses it, which I'm happy because it wasn't very expensive. It was pretty cheap. But anyways, so I was letting the dog sitter know that I was going to be home late, that she could drop her off, anytime at that point. And she said, by the way, I think Luna had a seizure. And Luna's never had one. She's 5. this dog sitter had 2 dogs that passed away due to age a year ago, I think she said, or maybe 6 months ago. Anyway, so they don't have a dog at the moment, but she's a dog lover and she likes Luna, which is really important for me because Luna's a handful. She's not great with new people. She's definitely not great with new dogs. She's opinionated little girl, right? And she's very energetic, very high energy. So, it's important for me that she's not an inconvenience on someone. And so anyways, the dog sitter said that yesterday, which we're having this heat wave, Luna is trying to stay cool right now by, how dogs do. But she doesn't like the heat. I don't like the heat. Fortunately, we don't have too much heat where I live. But it does get to her, and she's more lethargic and tired during the summer. So anyways, she basically said that Luna was following her to the kitchen, and she saw Luna kind of freeze up and then start shaking. And she was basically saying it was exactly what her previous lab did. Now, Luna's not a lab. She's a mix. She does have some lab in her, but she's not. She's 10 different breeds, so she's a mutt. But yeah, so she's never had any issues. she'll get a foxtail in her nose, which is really annoying because you have to they have to put her under and then they have to pull out the foxtail. That's the only, that's happened a couple times, but that's the only thing, right? Yeah, so I don't know. I don't want her to doubt her. I didn't want to say I think you're wrong, but I'm also just you've now hung out with my dog multiple days for daycare, and she had stayed with her for 5 days. But dogs are kind of weird. And then that was the question. She's very active in her sleep. She will be running in her sleep, and she'll be moving a lot and shaking. Sometimes it does look kind of like seizure, but it's not. It's you wake her up and she's just having one of those those dog dreams. I don't know if you guys have dogs that do that, but it's very common. And so I asked her, was it when she was sleeping that she was shaking? She's like, no, she was awake, and then she just kind of froze. And so I don't know. I'm just keeping an eye on her right now. She seems fine today. I would like this little heat wave to pass because she does not like it. But yeah, so that's my Luna update. She had fun though, and the couple, they were snapping photos, and it seemed like she was doing great with them. And again, I just don't want to be an inconvenience to anyone. And even if I'm paying for someone to watch my dog, I still want her to be somewhat easy. So, right? I know. Are they your new friends? This morning, at the end of this video, I'll put in some elk footage from this morning before I started filming. So it's the elk rut right now. And I think I've talked about this before, but basically during fall time, the male elk are calling the ladies by screaming. I tried so hard to get the scream in my footage, and he did it right after I started filming. And I was filming for a while, but anyways, it was across the street, and they were just eating leaves off of one of my neighbor's trees, and it was just quite a few of them. There was the baby elk and the moms and the ladies, and then there was the one man. And so he kept doing it's got a name. It's not a scream. It's got a different name, but it's called the elk rut. They've got a deer rut as well. And it's a time that they tend to be more aggressive. So I stay away from them. But I also keep Luna away from them because she does not understand that, the male elk around here, they're 500 pounds. They're big boys. So what else? So yeah, we're having our little heat wave in California. I went on vacation and had a house at the beach with some friends, and it was a ton of fun. It was great to just have a break. And there was one day where I woke up and I was just, I'm not doing any work today. I don't have any obligation. I don't have to get up and walk the dog. It was just, I did have a day where I just kind of decompressed, but it was unfortunate that it was hot because I was really looking forward to 70-degree beach days, which is typical there. But it was an adorable house. We did get out and we went kayaking. We ate at some restaurants, went to a wine tasting place, and in general just walked around and stuff. So the beaches were pretty crowded. So I don't like crowded beaches. I would rather go on a weekday in winter when there's like very few people on a beach than like a 3-day weekend during a heat wave in California where everyone goes to the beach. So I didn't get as much beach time as I wanted, but that's okay. It was still a really good trip. And I did before that, the weekend before, go on a day trip, and I took the dog to Kernville. And we went on a hike near Kernville, and then I decided to drive up to the Trail of 100 Giants. And it's sequoias is what's there, and I love the sequoias, but I've only been to the Sequoia National Park on the other side of the mountain, and this way it's a different way to get there. And so I was excited to go there because 2 years ago, I think, that whole area burned, and they were trying to protect this Trail of 100 Giants. I think that's what it's called, Trail of 100 Giants or Trail of 1,000 Giants. Anyways, not really super close to get there, and it was so much burn scar driving close to there, but they did save most of the protected area. So that was actually pretty interesting. I did go to this brewery, stopped there, grab a bite to eat. It's called Kern River Brewing Company. And I got this hat because I like wearing hats like this. And I thought it was cute. So I've gotten a couple new hats recently. So I'm excited about that because my Patagonia hat's getting kind of stained. And I wear it all the time. But I'm like, they're not. I don't know. Do you guys wash hats? Maybe, I guess I could try and wash my Patagonia hat. But I feel like it's getting pretty stained. And I might just replace that exact one because I love the colors in that one. But I also think like, it's time to try something new, Courtney. You know, I like wearing the same stuff. I'm just so boring. Let's see. I have been doing a lot of purging in my closet. I did it a couple weekends ago. I did it a couple weekends before that. I'm trying to get through my house and just get my personal stuff organized. The problem is I have no closets except for 2 in my entire house. 1 in my guest bedroom and 1 in my personal bedroom. And they're not big closets. I don't have a hall closet. I don't have a pantry in my kitchen. So my guest room closet is where I store like my vacuum. I store like my bins of, books and keepsakes and I don't know. So I'm just trying to like purge. And I don't know why I'm doing it in the middle of summer when it's kind of toasty. I feel like it's a better fall winter activity, but I'm making progress. And I just keep going through my personal closet of like, do I love this? Not the Marie Kondo method, but do I like this? If I don't love it, why do I have it? And some of it's sellable, some of it's not because it's flawed already or it's just not worth much. But yeah, I've been making progress on that and it's feeling so good. Like, I don't know. I feel like I got a lot organized with my reselling business and now I'm trying to make a dent with my personal stuff. And I'm just not a cluttered person. I'm like a tosser outer, like I'm not a minimalist, but I do want to get to a place where I have less stuff. And that makes like walking into a place that doesn't have a lot of clutter brings me peace. And so I'm just trying to, I think that's a bad thing about reselling is we're constantly buying stuff. And I have this mindset of, oh, well, this is flawed, but it's my size. So I'll just wear it a couple times. And then it goes in my closet and then it sits there for 6 months. And then I never wore it because it's not my style and I have nowhere to wear it. And it's flawed or not. Like it's just, so I'm just trying to be better about that. I just want to simplify my life. I don't know. It's like therapeutic, My sweet girl, are you toasty? If you're wondering what a foxtail is, this is a very tiny foxtail. But basically, they're these weeds, and they're designed. This is a seed, so they're designed when they bloom in June, July, and that's pretty much. We don't have grass where I'm at. It's just natural vegetation, and it's green until it dries out because we don't have rain. And so when you clear your land for fire clearance, all these seeds are all over the yard. And so she'll be sniffing around and she'll sniff one of these. And what they're designed to do is they're pokey on one end, and that's so that they'll go into the earth to replant the seed. Nature's amazing. Like I love learning this kind of stuff. The problem is these are really terrible for dogs because if she sniffs one up, she'll start sneezing crazy. And it's designed to just go one way. And I guess some dogs, it'll get up into their brain. It could possibly kill them. I think that's a very rare situation. But anyways, that's what I'm talking about with foxtail. Usually some of them are huge. Some of them are like super spiky. There's different kinds of foxtails, but it was just in her fur right now because they're everywhere. And if you're on, it's a lot of the West Coast that has them. If you live in a city and you don't have natural vegetation, you probably don't encounter them very much. But when you go hiking, they're everywhere. So, oh, the joys. What else? I have a bear on my property, or I have a bear around. We have quite a few bears in our community right now, and we use Nextdoor to kind of communicate. But the other day I was out front playing with the dog, and I noticed some bear scat. Glad I went to camp as a kid and learned all about scat. And I even had to Google it to make sure, because I was like, this isn't, I have like deer and elk, wild pig, scat all around all the time, like, because they're always on my property. But this was like, this is a different animal. So I looked it up. I was like, yeah, we've got the bear. But I sent a message to one of my neighbors, one of my closest neighbors, and I said, FYI, I just found this and it's near your workshop. And you know, the bear's here. And he said, oh, I forgot to tell you, last night the bear was up in the tree and his dogs were going crazy. And it was like, I guess the bear didn't come down until like 1:30 in the morning. But yeah, this time of year, the animals kind of get desperate for food. And so they're here. I would prefer it if they, you know, not walk in my house. Cause that's the other thing. Like, they will go into houses. They know how to open doors. And so you just have to be more cautious. So I've been locking my door every time I leave my house, even if it's just a walk, because I don't want to come home to a bear in my house, because they will destroy things because of food, you know. And I leave windows open, small windows open for airflow. But yeah, what are we doing on time? I cut my hair. It's not good right now because I need to wash it. But I didn't cut much off. I mean, I cut the dead part off, and it's not a different style. She basically just did the same style, just trimmed it up. But at least it's healthy now, and I would like to get into the place where I'm at least getting a trim every 6 months, because I went 3 years without getting a haircut. And I know COVID was a big part of that, but I'm also just lazy. But it was like really dead. It was also really uneven because hair breaks off. So it was bad. But I got it trimmed up. I also went to Quick Cuts. What are those? What's not Super Cuts? What's the other one? Quick Clips? Great Clips? I don't care. I spent it was $21, and then I tipped her I paid $30. I use cheap hair wash and hair shampoo and conditioner, and I like a good cheap cut, because I'm like, I mean, it's long, it's light layers, it's just standard. I don't know. I've like, the only haircuts that I have not liked are if I've cut my hair shorter, like, you know, up here, which has only been a couple times. I donated my hair a couple times, and that's when I cut it short, and I hated it. I was miserable until it would grow out. So I don't know. I'm lazy. Low maintenance, I think, is what people say. But that's basically it. I have a busy week. It's going to be a hot week, but then the temperatures are going to drop, which is great. So I'm just going to keep an eye on the dog, right, Boo? Make sure you don't have any more. Like right now, she's shaking because she's breathing heavy. So I don't know. I'm sure she's fine. But I'm keeping an eye on her. So that's it, right, Boo? We need to get to work, finish up the shipping, and be able to take this to the post office. I know. We'll see you in the next one. Be sure to hit the thumbs up. And thank you, Green Chef, for sponsoring another video. It's just my favorite thing ever. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.